Okay, folks, we're going to get started tonight. Welcome to the Planning and Development Committee meeting. Hey, guys. It's Monday, April 13th, 2015. We have a quorum tonight. Alderman Rainey will be joining us in just a minute. She's running down the hallway as fast as she can. So we have a quorum. The first item on the agenda is approving the regular meeting minutes of March 23rd, 2015. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any changes or corrections? Okay, then all in favor of approving the minutes as submitted, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. So the only item on the agenda tonight is P1 Ordinance 43015. It's the plan development for 1620 Central Street. The Plan Commission and staff recommend adoption of Ordinance 43015 for special use approval of a plan development at 1620 Central Street. The four-story, 40-foot-high multiple-family residential building includes 47 dwelling units and 54 parking spaces on site. It's for introduction. Is there a motion?
Second.
Okay. Then we'll open it up to citizen comment. One person has signed up to speak. Okay, then we'll let the developer present the project. Who is going to, oh, great.
Hi, my name is John Majewski with Majewski Architects. I'll be very brief tonight. If there's anything more that you'd like, I'll be happy to go through it. But we've really cut the presentation very short, so in appreciative of all the time that you guys put forward, we didn't want to spend too much time. So we'll just hit through and go through the key aspects of the project. I think everybody understands where it's located on Central Street. The best thing about this project is there couldn't be a better location between the two different modes of key transportation, the CTA to the east and the Metro to the west. It's a very important part of our project because we think that the solution to parking is not necessarily adding more parking, it's just making a transportation-oriented project that really makes sense, and we've tried to find the right balance with this project. The site itself actually is located where the former 2.5-story structure is located. We've dashed that in red so you can see that object up towards the front. We have spent the better part, we started I think with our first community meeting June of last year, and have had 24 community meetings before we actually had our first meeting with Plan Commission. So we've taken this very serious. We've tried to take a different approach. The building has pushed and pulled, and I'm not going to take you through all of those tonight. We did that with the Planning Commission, but it's had probably on the order of about 12, 13 major changes to it that have just evolved through this process of working with everybody. I believe that we have a great deal of respect and mutual admiration in working together. It's never perfect, and it's absolutely not that we have a perfect solution, but we have one that I think almost all the neighbors could agree to. There is definitely one couple in one of the townhouses that we weren't really able to reach agreement with. We did, however, make most of our major concessions along that piece of property, including additional landscaping and much larger setbacks. So with all of that pushing and pulling, we ended up with the plan that you're presented with today. And you can see that the mass of the new building actually fits. That's what we're showing now with the red line. And the black and white image that you see is the existing building that's there. So predominantly on the left side, you can see there's been a major pushback, really both because of the townhomes on the left that are a little closer, and then predominantly because of the single-family homeowners that are adjacent to our site. If they happen to live on the west side, the building is pushed back at least 5 feet back further. And as we go through it, there's portions where it's pushed back substantially further, and I'll get to that when we get to the landscape plan. I think you've seen the size in the units. We just simply want to point out one of the reasons we've had to go through this process is the size of the site is 31,994 square feet, so we're required to do a planned unit development. So we had no choice. There really was no way to do this per zoning. If there was, we probably would have tried to work within that. The underlying zoning is 01. Because of the lot area, we're here with a PUD. The PUD itself has tried to work within several of the guidelines, predominantly working within the FAR. Our proposed FAR is about 1.93. The maximum allowed with bonuses is 1.99, and one of those key bonuses is by putting your parking below and inside the building, which we've done. Maximum number of dwelling units would be 67 units. We're proposing 47 units. We have a good mix within that of 11 one-bedrooms, 28 two-bedrooms, and 8 that are 3-bedroom units. The maximum height permitted is 5 stories or 52 feet. We're at 4 stories, 47.5 feet. Parking spaces, one place that we are under is 72 parking spaces are required. We are providing 54. But as we'll get to the public benefits, as a transportation or transit-oriented project, we really believe, and I think the Plan Commission really agreed with us, that the solution is not just providing more parking, it's to get individuals into the units that will use the parking that they have and really take access to public transportation. Another benefit is obviously providing bike parking. We have 32 bike parking spaces and 31 were required. Overall, what we tried to do with the building is set it back. It's on those different areas that I had shown you on the front. On the very back of the building to the lower right-hand side, you can see we have a larger garden area. On the right-hand side, over adjacent to the 4 single-family homeowners, we've tried to find a balance in working with both groups to push the mass of the building behind somewhat in the center, pushing and pulling back and forth to end up that we're respecting the single-family homes, but still really respecting the townhouses, because the townhouses, it's not their back door, they actually look out their front. So that's what they would see. So that's why we've pushed it back and created that garden area on that side. Public benefits, we are granting a 15-foot easement to the east with a 10-foot concrete paved driveway that will allow access to the rear of the single-family homeowners. There are 4 homeowners along that side. That was something that was very important to them. We're providing 2 on-site affordable housing units. They'll be 1-bedroom units, which are part of our project. We're preserving, as a big part of what we did is we have 2 key trees, one that's a public tree up near the street and one that's at the back. They're both elms, but or ashes, I'm sorry, but they're both very, is it elm or? It's an elm. But they're both healthy. There are no issues with them. They've been checked out by the city arborist, and so we really want to respect those. That was a lot of pushing and pulling as well. We're working with the city to bury the overhead utilities. That's a little bit tricky because we don't want to make the problem more complicated, but we intend to work with city staff to come up with a solution to really alleviate the utility issue. We're providing 1 Divvy bike share membership for every unit in the building for 3 years. We'll provide 1 year of free CTA or Metra passes for anyone within a unit of the building. Streetscape improvements along Central Street are just a part of it, so we'll be one of the very first parts of Central Street that becomes compliant with the new size requirements for Central Street street improvements. We're replacing the existing wood fence along the west property line. Well, there hasn't been a request to do that along the east property line because we're putting landscaping along the east property line, and we're also allowing the homeowners to have access along that path. So it isn't that we're not providing landscaping, it's just simply that they want to be able to access the back of their property. We've arranged for 2 car share spaces along Central Street in close proximity to the site. We're currently negotiating that, but that is a part of this project. And installation of 2 free on-site vehicle charging stations will be located within the garage. Installation of approximately 5,500 square feet of roof covering, which is really creating that green area towards the back of the project on both sides, as well as providing LEED certification for the project. With that, I really just wanted to show you these quick kind of views that you've had a chance to see. We've spent a lot of time working with the mass to try to push and pull it, to respect the request that along Central Street we reinforce this transition from kind of a business district as you start to go about a block to the right to what really becomes completely, as we go to the left, a single-family or multifamily residential district. Most of the buildings along the front, we have townhouses on either side. Those virtually don't have any facade. They're kind of blank walls. Those are the 2 townhouse projects that were built some time ago, and we're kind of nestling in between those 2. But we try to respect the mass. Looking at other projects along the street, we've set portions of the building back as well as the 4th floor. As we wrap around the building is primarily made up of metal panel and brick and masonry. It's a really, really well quality built building, so we don't have any concerns about the materials that we're using on the outside of the structure. Here you get a view from the back, looking at the alley as the ramp will go down and access the parking, and then there's that garden area that's located to the lower left of the drawing. And here's just kind of more of a typical view as you'd walk heading to the east along Central Street. So with that, I thought I would just hit the highlights and turn it over to any questions. We have a huge appendix if there's any details that I can cover.
Thank you very much, John. Alderman Tandem,
Thank you.
and then Alderman Grover.
I think your process in resolving this and getting to this point has been admirable. Really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to this being constructed, and you've also hit on so many key points that the city and our sustainability folks are interested in, and we as council have made that decision as well. So thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Maevsky, and to your team that have put this together. I think despite what feels like a lot of pushing and pulling, that you've got a good-looking building here. And it doesn't seem to me as if you've made a lot of compromises in just the appearance and the integrity of the outside of the building. It'll be a nice addition to the Central Street landscape. And I think I want to compliment you as well on the process. I think for me it was a learning process as to how to do it right, how to tackle some complicated zoning issues with the Central Street overlay. Remember that we amended the Central Street overlay district to permit site development allowances, not the big ones that really matter to residents, but to allow a building to accommodate local and neighborhood concerns. So this was a long process. As you said, almost a year ago we began having this discussion, and I've learned a lot about really the right way to take a project from start to finish and how to engage the community. And I compliment you and your team on all your patience with many, many community and neighborhood meetings, and with great thanks to city staff as well for helping us navigate this project and the very specific and more general neighborhood concerns. I think they really have been mostly addressed, and at least those residents, they're not happy, they know they've been heard.
Right.
Which counts for a lot. So thank you very much. I look forward to this project starting, and assume we'll have a construction plan in place. So thank you.
Thank you.
I was remiss in not calling on Mr. Bova for citizen comment.
Carl Bova, 1322 Rosalie Street. I live about 1,059 feet exactly away from this particular development, and I'd like the following comments related to the parking requirements. First of all, I've said many times the existing parking requirements that the city has are in excess of what is needed, and staff needs to rekindle a thought process for coming up with a real estimate of what is necessary under what conditions, under what kind of uses for parking within the city. That said, at this particular location, first of all, the CTA and the Metro usage is down on Central Street between 2006 and 2014. And at Central, Metro doesn't do the estimates that often. At the CTA, between 2013 and 2014, ridership is actually down. And this is despite 80 additional occupied units at 1700 Central Street, which are touted as transit-oriented development. The 1700 building now has its parking fully subscribed. People are trying to park in the neighborhood. It is a problem that will continue. It's only going to grow. Why? Because the surface parking lot at Ryan Field does not permit overnight parking. There is no alternative other than to park on the street for the overflow and the spillage from 1700 Central. This project at 1620 is poised to be very much the same. What do we need? I would say, just off the top of my head, that a minimum of 1.25 parking stalls per unit would be required. However, the development itself has so many units that are 2- and 3-bedroom units that it attracts people who have more than one car. And so you really ought to look at every aspect of the development, not just the number of units. 72 are required per the code, and I would say you probably need about 65. By the way, You've probably heard that about 30% of the jobs are accessible to transit. 70% are not accessible to transit. So when a person who's looking for a job is trying to find a job, they're going to find one 70% of the time where they need a car. And that's the potential potential tenant that I see using this particular location. I would encourage that that parking requirement be increased for this particular development over the 54 that are being provided. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other comments from the committee? Anyone else? Okay. So we'll vote. All those in favor of sending this on to council in introduction? Aye. Say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Mr. Munzer, are there any items for discussion tonight?
No, there are not.
Are there any communications?
No.
And is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay, thank you very much.